Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise on complex topics and really get you the insights that count. And let's face it, personal finance, especially retirement planning, it can feel, well, overwhelming.
It really can, like navigating a maze sometimes.
Exactly. All the jargon, the rules, IRAs, 401k, it's a lot. But that's our mission today, to give you a clear map.
A good map is essential here.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today's deep dive is all about individual retirement accounts, IRAs.
Yep.
And specifically, we're zeroing in on traditional versus Roth IRAs. You've probably heard these terms. Maybe you even have one.
Most likely, yeah.
But are you really clear on how they work, the key differences, and crucially, which one might be better for you?
That's the big question.
We've looked at a bunch of comparisons, pulled the key facts together, and we're going to break it down so you feel truly informed, not just, vaguely aware.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is just how personal IRAs are. This isn't like your company's 401k. An IRA is your account.
Right, totally separate.
It's a really powerful way to save for retirement, either on its own or maybe to save even more than your 401k allows.
Good point, for extra savings.
And understanding these differences, it's not just theory. It can seriously impact your money both now and way down the road in retirement. We're hoping for some real aha moments for you today.
Exactly, those moments where it clicks. Okay, so traditional versus Roth. People hear tax breaks. But the fundamental thing, the absolute core difference, is when you get that tax benefit. Is it now or is it later?
That's the crux of it. Everything else stems from that.
So let's start there. Let's dive into the traditional IRA first. What's the deal?
Okay, so with a traditional IRA, the basic idea is you're often contributing money before it's taxed, pre-tax dollars, meaning those contributions can often be tax deductible for the year you make them. So you put in, say, $7,000.
And that $7,000 might come right off your taxable income for that year.
Exactly. It could lower your tax bill right now. An upfront benefit.
That's pretty good.
It can be. But, and this is a really important but.
Always a catch.
Well, a nuance anyway. That deductibility isn't guaranteed for everyone. If you or your spouse are covered by a retirement plan at work, like a 401k,
right,
and your income is above certain levels set by the IRS, then your ability to deduct those traditional IRA contributions starts to phase out or might disappear completely.
Okay, so income limits can affect the deduction, even if you have a work plan.
Precisely.
But what if you earn too much for the deduction? Can you still put money into a traditional IRA?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's a key point people miss. Even if you can't deduct it, you can still contribute after-tax dollars to a traditional IRA.
Okay. Non-deductible contributions.
Right. So the big takeaway is there's generally no income limit to contribute to a traditional IRA itself. The limits are just about whether you can deduct that contribution.
Got it. That's a critical distinction. Okay, so if traditional is often about the tax break now, then the Roth IRA must be the flip side. The benefit comes later.
Exactly right. With a Roth, you contribute with after-tax dollars, money you've already paid income tax on.
So no upfront deduction that year.
Correct. No immediate tax break. You're essentially saying, I'll pay the tax on this money now.
Okay. So why do that?
Because the payoff comes later. And it's potentially huge since you've already paid the taxes. Qualified withdrawals in retirement are completely 100% tax-free.
Wow. Okay. That includes the contributions and all the earnings.
Everything. Contributions, interest, dividends, capital gains. If it's a qualified withdrawal, it comes out tax-free. Think about decades of growth, potentially tax-free.
That is a powerful benefit, especially if you think taxes might go up later.
Or if you think your income will be higher in retirement.
Right. But I remember hearing Roths have different rules, especially about who can contribute based on income.
You're spot on. Unlike traditional IRAs where anyone can contribute, though not always deduct, Roth IRAs do have direct income limits.
Okay, what are those generally?
Well, they change slightly each year. But for 2025, if you're married filing jointly, you can make the full contribution if your modified adjusted gross income. Your AGI basically is under $236,000.
And it phases out above that.
Yep, there's a phase-out range. And then eventually, you can't contribute directly at all if your income is too high.
So high earners might be blocked from direct Roth contributions. What then?
Well, that leads us to something called the backdoor Roth IRA.
I've heard of that. Sounds a bit sneaky.
Maybe a little, but it's perfectly legal. It's a strategy where you make a non-deductible contribution to a traditional IRA.
Which has No income limit for contributing.
Exactly. And then shortly after, you convert that traditional IRA money into a Roth IRA.
So it bypasses the direct Roth income limit.
Effectively, yes. It lets higher earners get money into a Roth structure.
Okay, that backdoor Roth is interesting. Why does that work? And are there any major catches?
It works because, like we said, there's no income limit for making non-deductible traditional IRA contributions. And crucially, there's also no income limit on converting a traditional IRA to a Roth. The backdoor just combines those two rules.
Simple enough. What's the catch?
The big one is something called the pro rata rule. This gets a bit tricky.
Oh.
If you have any other traditional IRA money that is pre-tax, maybe from old deductible contributions or a 401k rollover,
Okay.
then that conversion isn't entirely tax-free. The IRS looks at all your traditional IRA money together, pre-tax and after-tax. Only the proportion that was after-tax gets converted tax-free. The rest is taxable.
Oof. So if you have a big existing traditional IRA, the backdoor conversion could trigger a surprise tax bill.
It definitely could. It requires careful planning if you have existing pre-tax IRA funds. It's a detail that really matters.
Good to know. A very important nuance.
Okay.
So we have different tax treatments, different income rules for direct Roth contributions.
Yeah.
What about the basics? How much can you actually put in each year?
Good question. Despite all those differences, the actual amount you can contribute each year is largely the same for both. For 2025, that limit is $7,000 per person.
$7,000.
And if you're age 50 or older, there's a helpful catch-up provision. You can add an extra $1,000.
Bringing it to $8,000 total for those 50 plus.
$8,000. Now, another key point. That $7,000 or $8,000 limit, it's a combined limit across all your IRAs.
Meaning traditional and Roth together.
Yes. You can split it however you want, maybe $4,000 in traditional, $3,000 in Roth, but the total can't go over that annual limit.
You can't max out both separately.
Nope. And one more thing. Generally, contributions need to come from earned income, wages, salaries, self-employment income. You typically can't contribute just from investment income, for example.
Got it. Earned income is key. Okay, so you put the money in, respecting the limits. Now the long game. Decades later, you're retired, you want the money. How does it work coming out? Let's go back to the traditional IRA.
Okay, traditional IRA withdrawals. Remember, your money grew tax-deferred.
Meaning no taxes along the way on the growth.
Right, which is great for compounding. But because you likely got a tax deduction going in, or at least deferred taxes on the growth.
Here comes the tax bill.
Exactly. When you take money out in retirement, those withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income.
Like salary.
Just like salary. So if you pull out $10,000, that $10,000 gets added to your taxable income for that year.
Okay. What about taking it out early? Before retirement age?
Yes. Generally, if you withdraw from a traditional IRA before you hit age 59 and a half, you'll usually get hit with a 10% early withdrawal penalty.
Ouch.
On top of the regular income tax you owe on the withdrawal. So it's a double whammy.
Nobody wants that. Are there ways around that penalty? Exceptions?
Thankfully, yes, there are several exceptions. Some common ones include using up to $10,000 for a first-time home purchase.
Okay.
Certain higher education expenses for yourself or family. Or if you have really significant medical expenses that aren't reimbursed.
So some flexibility for major life events.
Some, yes. But generally the strong advice is, think of this money as locked up until retirement.
Makes sense. Okay, so traditional, tax deduction, possibly upfront, tax-deferred growth, but tax coming out.
Yep.
Now, flip to the Roth. So
Yeah.
This is where it gets exciting on the withdrawal side, right?
This is the Roth superpower, really.
Yeah.
Just like the traditional, your investments grow tax-free inside the Roth. No annual taxes on earnings.
Okay.
But the huge difference is with qualified withdrawals. They are completely, totally tax-free.
No income tax at all.
None. Not on your original contributions and not on any of the growth over all those years. Imagine building a big nest egg and then accessing every penny tax-free in retirement.
That sounds amazing. But you said qualified withdrawals. What makes a withdrawal qualified?
Right. There are rules. Two main conditions. First, you have to have had any Roth IRA open for at least 5 years. It's a 5-year clock that starts with your very first contribution to any Roth IRA.
The 5-year rule.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second condition.
You generally need to be age 59 and a half or older, or alternatively be disabled, or using up to $10,000 for that first-time home purchase exception we mentioned.
So 5 years and 59 and a half, or another qualifying event.
Correct. If you meet both, the withdrawal of both contributions and earnings is tax-free. If you take out earnings before meeting those conditions, those earnings could be taxed and potentially hit with the 10% penalty.
What about just taking out what you originally put in?
Now that's another unique Roth benefit. You can withdraw your original contributions, the money you put in after tax, at any time, for any reason, completely tax-free and penalty-free.
Really? Just pull out the principal anytime. Why is that allowed?
Because you already paid tax on that money. The IRS views it as simply getting your own money back, your basis.
That's incredible flexibility, like an emergency fund layer within your retirement account.
It can function that way, yes. It gives people peace of mind, although, again, the best advice is usually to leave it all invested for retirement if you can, but knowing you can access contributions is powerful.
Absolutely. And I heard this Roth withdrawal flexibility might even help with things like Medicare premiums later on.
That's a more advanced but really interesting point. Your Medicare Part B and D premiums in retirement are based on your modified adjusted gross income, or MGI, from 2 years prior.
Okay.
Since qualified Roth withdrawals are tax-free, they don't count towards your MNGI. So having a pot of tax-free Roth money to draw from could potentially help keep your income low enough to avoid higher Medicare premiums.
Wow, that's a strategic angle many probably don't consider.
Yeah.
Very insightful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot again. Another detail, maybe overlooked, but super important, especially later in life. RMDs, required minimum distributions.
Yes, RMDs, definitely something you need to plan for.
What are they and how do they apply to the traditional IRA?
Okay, so with traditional IRAs, the government eventually wants its tax money on all that deferred growth. So they require you to start taking minimum withdrawals, RMDs, by a certain age.
They force you to take it out and pay tax. What age does that start now? I know it changed recently.
It did, thanks to the Secure Acts. If you were born between 1951 and 1959, you generally have to start RMDs at age 73.
Okay, 73.
If you were born in 1960 or later, it's pushed back even further to age 75.
73 or 75, depending on your birth year. And how much you have to take.
The IRS has specific tables based on your account balance at the end of the previous year and your life expectancy factor. It calculates a minimum percentage you need to withdraw.
And if you don't take it, if you forget or ignore it.
Big penalty. Currently, it's a 25% penalty on the amount you should have withdrawn but didn't.
25%? Ouch.
Yeah, it can sometimes be reduced to 10% if you fix the mistake quickly, but it's definitely something to track carefully. They want their tax revenue eventually.
Clearly. So traditional IRAs have these mandatory withdrawals starting in your 70s. What about Roth IRAs? Is it the same deal?
Nope. And this is one of the biggest advantages of the Roth IRA, especially for flexibility and estate planning.
No RMDs.
No R&Ds for the original owner during their lifetime.
Wow. So you can just let that Roth money keep growing tax-free indefinitely if you don't need it.
Exactly. You're never forced to take withdrawals you don't want or need. You can let it compound, potentially, for your entire life. This gives you huge control over your retirement, income, and tax situation.
That's a massive difference. Huge for planning. What about when you pass away? What happens to the Roth then? Do heirs have RMDs?
Good question. Heirs do generally have to take the money out, usually within 10 years after the original owner's death, under current rules for most non-spouse beneficiaries.
Okay. A 10-year window for heirs.
Right. But here's the kicker. Those withdrawals that heirs take are typically still tax-free for them.
So they inherit a pot of tax-free money. They just need to withdraw over 10 years. Still sounds pretty good.
It's a fantastic legacy planning tool compared to inheriting a traditional IRA, where the heirs would owe income tax on the withdrawals, so that lack of RMDs for the owner, it really impacts long-term strategy.
Absolutely. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. The tax timing, contribution rules, the backdoor Roth, withdrawal rules, penalties, exceptions, and these critical RMD differences.
We sure have.
So let's bring it all home. For someone listening right now, trying to decide, traditional or Roth, what's the thought process? How do you choose?
It really comes down to making an educated guess about your taxes. When do you think you'll be in a higher tax bracket? Now or in retirement?
Classic question.
Yeah, and the simple rule of thumb you always hear is, if you expect your tax rate to be higher in the future,
Go Roth, pay the tax now at the lower rate.
generally yes. Pay taxes now while rates are potentially lower for you, and then enjoy all that tax-free income later when your rate might be higher.
Okay. And the opposite. If you think your tax rate will be lower in retirement,
Then the traditional IRA with the upfront tax deduction might be more appealing. Get the tax break now when your rate is higher, and pay taxes later in retirement when your rate is hopefully lower.
makes sense. But predicting the future is hard. Tax laws change, incomes fluctuate.
Exactly. It's not always clear-cut. And while many people do end up in a lower bracket in retirement, it's not a guarantee for everyone.
So what about maybe doing both, hedging your bets?
That's often a really smart strategy. Tax diversification. Having some money in tax-deferred accounts like a traditional IRA or 401k, and some in tax-free accounts like a Roth.
It gives you options later.
Tremendous options. In retirement, you can choose which account to draw from each year to help manage your overall taxable income. You need a big chunk of cash, don't want to spike your tax bracket, maybe pull from the Roth that year. It gives you control.
Control and flexibility, love it.
Mm-hmm.
So it really pushes you, the listener, to think critically about your own situation, doesn't it? Your future income, potential tax changes.
It really does.
Okay, so to quickly recap our deep dive, traditional IRA often means tax break now, taxed later. Roth IRA means tax now, tax-free later. Same basic contribution limits, but different income rules for Roths, leading to the backdoor strategy.
And very different withdrawal rules, especially Roth's ability to take out contributions early, penalty-free.
And those huge differences in RMDs required for traditional, but not for the original Roth owner.
Right. Our goal was really to map all that out clearly so you can use these powerful IRA tools effectively, whether it's your main retirement saving or extra savings on top of a 401k.
And just to echo your earlier point, the real magic happens when you let this money grow, ideally untouched, for the long haul.
Yeah.
Compounding is powerful.
Absolutely critical. Let time and the market do their work. So here's a final thought to leave you with. As you weigh traditional versus Roth, don't just think about your tax bracket today versus your first year of retirement. Try to imagine your whole financial picture 20, 30, maybe even 40 years out. How might your income needs change? What about potential inheritances or healthcare costs? How might future tax laws evolve? Thinking longer term like that. Which strategy? Traditional, Roth, or a mix truly gives you the most adaptability, the most control, and the biggest potential bang for your buck over your entire lifetime and maybe even beyond.
That's a great question to ponder. It's about playing the long game with flexibility in mind. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into traditional and Roth IRAs.
My pleasure.
We really hope you feel more equipped to make informed choices for your financial future. Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.